So let's get a little more clear on estrangement, since it is such a hot topic. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you can use this to maybe even journal about this, but are you estranged from a family member? How easy was that decision for you? How long did it take you to come to that decision? I mean, estrangement is a hot topic these days, and again, I was doing some reading on it recently, and in one piece I had read, specifically addressing the issue of no contact and the idea of therapists actually supporting clients in their decision to go no contact. Now, the article was a little misleading because it made it sound as though the therapists were encouraging the clients or the patients to go no contact. But what was happening is that the therapists were saying it's okay to go no contact and that it could help. Estrangement and going no contact, especially family settings, is no joke. It's the DEFCON 1 of solution. It's the tourniquet of first aid approaches. It's the end of the line. I have spoken before on this idea that nobody comes to this decision of estrangement easily. Well, nobody, really. Almost nobody does. And unfortunately, what often comes up is that it is perceived that when a person makes a decision to go no contact with a family member or even an entire family, that it was some kind of easy breezy decision that they made. My family is pissing me off and not giving me my way. I'm going to show them and I'm going to cut them off and not talk to them anymore. There's sort of a spoiled child stigma about people who become estranged from their families, as though people make this monumental decision around estrangement from family members because they just didn't get their way and they're just throwing a massive adult tantrum. Estrangement shaming is pretty common. And as you can imagine, when it comes to narcissistic family systems, it is often a tool, this idea of no contact or estrangement, that works very well. Sadly, it can become the case that ongoing contact with the narcissistic family system can be quite harmful, and that by the time a person goes no contact with a narcissistic family system, that they have suffered and suffered and hoped and tried and had those hopes dashed and tried and blamed themselves, and radical acceptance then often becomes the catalyst to no contact. It is a big decision to make because to go no contact can upend a family system, because it is all but impossible to go no contact with just one family member, especially a family that's connected to each other. Oftentimes going no contact means you lose everyone, and not everyone wants that. But the assumption that the person who makes the decision to go no contact is simply a petulant adult baby person is wrong. I've worked with clients in a range of situations. Some of them have gone no contact with selected family members and sometimes with entire family systems for years. And there was grief and a sense of loss, but ultimately a sense of peace. Not one of them regretted it. They definitely regretted that this was their lot, that this was their story. But they didn't regret the decision that they made. Others couldn't go no contact for a range of reasons. Culture, a close attachment to other family members that they would lose if they went no contact with anyone, fear. And they found themselves on a revolving carousel of ongoing abuse that they would often attempt to do workarounds on. None of them came to these decisions lightly, and many of the ones who could not do no contact often wish they could and recognized very clearly how much easier their lives and how much better their overall health would be if they did not have to maintain contact. Now, obviously, narcissism and other forms of antagonistic personality styles in family members are not the only reason that people go no contact. Some people go no contact because childhood trauma and abuse were denied by family members, or because there is ongoing physical abuse in the family system, or there is financial abuse, or because family members may represent a risk to minor children coming into the system, or there's unresolved substance use or an addiction, or there's violence and aggression. And these all may be patterns that are denied or enabled by other family members, simply making the family of origin too dangerous. As I have also said before, the estrangement that people may find themselves in and the no contact they may decide for when they have a narcissistic family system is not the same as the silent treatment or passive aggression and withholding that a narcissistic person may engage in to punish other people. Basically with the goal of forcing other people to apologize, even when the other people have done nothing wrong, to break the silence and to break the no contact. That's not what I'm talking about here. But estrangement or I should say the shaming of estrangement and no contact, that's not going anywhere. And what that means is that if you make a decision to go no contact, I know it is or was a painful and difficult decision, and there's a lot of hurt on the path to getting there. However, do not think that all people can hear about your no contact or your estrangement with an open and wise ear. You have to be discerning in how you share it, or the shaming and the negating can be too painful, and it can set your healing back. Some of you may not give a damn what other people think, which is great. However, others of you may still feel that this is new and you're not ready to face the judgment of others around something that's this raw and this vulnerable. Perhaps you never will be. So be careful, because you would be surprised at how often people will treat something as heavy as going no contact with a narcissistic family system as though it is just a silly conflict that could be figured out with some forgiveness and talking it through. Discernment ultimately means figuring out who your safe people are. But the big piece to remember, whether someone is telling you about going no contact with family or estrangement from a family, or you're going through it, is that it's not easy. This is not a tantrum about not getting your way. It's a huge decision that, while it can often take many people to a much better place, it's never easy. And it's one that can take people a long time to get to. It takes as long as it takes. I want to throw in one last piece here, which is that we often treat estrangement and no contact as a forever kind of a situation. Some people need time down. What we talk a lot about when we're talking about what happens in especially narcissistic family systems is, the fancy word for it is a loss of subjectivity. Basically, you lose your sense of self. You lose your identity. You don't even know who your authentic self is. And as long as you're in that family, you have to sort of fit you have to fit your square peg into their round hole kind of thing. And that the only way to really find yourself is to separate out from that system for some period of time. For some people, that's a couple of years. For some people, that's a decade or longer. And at the end of that time, sometimes there's an event, a catalyzing event. It could be a death. It could be an illness. It could be a coincidence. And there may be an event that puts you back in the fold with that family. And in some cases, you may find that now that you're fully possessed of who you are, what you're about, that you can stand strong in the face of it and give yourself permission to step away, that some people may find that there's an opportunity for repair where others will say, this will always and forever be a traumatizing system. So I think one of the other misperceptions we make about estrangement and going no contact is that this is a permanent decision. In some cases it is, and in some cases it's not. But I think that the piece you need to address is not get yourself caught up in what's going to happen down the line, but what is the right decision for you now, and what is going to facilitate your healing, your mental health, your growth,